Okay.
Yep, I think it's recording now.
It's recording. Okay.
Hi guys, today we welcome another guest to our channel. It's Pedro. Hi Pedro.
Hello, Almas. How are you?
And today essentially I wanted to just have a brief chat on what you've been up to, what kind of projects you've been working on, and anything interesting related to JavaFX.
Sure.
But before we do that, if you could just introduce yourself to the audience, and then we can go from there.
Okay, so my name is Pedro Vieira. I'm a freelance consultant. I'm a software engineer as well as a software designer. Once I completed my master degrees in computer science, in computer science I started to learn user interface design and user experience, and also started to take some courses on user interface design. I realized once I finished my degree that my passion was graphics, and so also I really love games as well. I know you develop a great engine platform. I don't know how you call it, FXGL. And games would be something someday I would like to do. Yeah. And so that's basically it. I started to program when I was about 8 years or 7. My brother taught me. He was like 15 at the time, and he's probably the one responsible for me getting into computers and into programming and computers in general.
Right.
He really liked. So at the time, he was using a Spectrum. I don't know if you've also used it. We played games on the Spectrum, and we also did. He taught me some programming.
I've heard of it. I think it's just before my time. I would have thought. I don't know. Maybe.
Yeah. So we had my brother. My parents bought my brother a Spectrum Plus 3, which was something was something unique at the time. At least I don't know anybody else who has one. He used we had a Spectrum, normal Spectrum, which used a cassette player, and games took like hours to play. And then he bought this Plus 3 Spectrum Plus 3, and which had something new, which was a floppy drive. It was new at that time, and games like took minutes to load, which was awesome at that time. Yeah, I can. I'll show. I have a picture here on. Well, let me share the screen of my first computer. Can you see?
Yep, I can see it.
This was my first. Well, it was not my first, but the one I used on the beginning the most. And it had we also had a monochromatic monitor, and yeah, and also we had something that was attached to the back of the computer, that you could see the memory, what was present.
Right, so it was fully programmable.
Yeah, and we could see what was on the memory at the time and save it to the floppy drive. So we had, like, if we were playing a game, we could have like save games which weren't available at the time. You couldn't save progress on at that time. Okay, so this was my first computer. Then at the time I was programming in BASIC, only doing really simple stuff at the time.
How did you go from that to JavaFX?
Yeah, then I did my degree on computer science. It was mostly my university mostly taught .NET and Microsoft stuff, because I think they have also an agreement with Microsoft. I had like one or two how do you say it, one or two subjects on Java. 5 maybe, not that much. But then my last my last project was for another university, and they decided to use Java, and that's how I got into, when I started to use Java more regularly. And I started to, with that project, I started to learn, I had to learn graphics and 3D stuff, and OpenGL, and at the time I decided to use Java 3D. I don't know if you know that technology.
It's the older one.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think it's much known nowadays.
Yeah, I've only heard of it. I haven't actually used it.
Yeah, it was a quite nice technology, but unfortunately it died. It already had the scene graph like approach. You could have a camera inside the scene graph, and you could put the camera wherever you wanted in the scene graph, which was a nice.
So very similar to how JavaFX now works in 3D.
Yeah, exactly. It was very similar to JavaFX 3D. So then I finished my degree, and I went to create a project called Modellus, which was in Swing and Java Swing. And then at that time, JavaFX wasn't yet available. It wasn't. When I was almost at the end of the project, JavaFX came out, and so I decided to start experimenting with it. And I can show you here so I had this application called Modellus, and then I started to experiment with JavaFX and integrating JavaFX into Modellus, which at that time, the Modellus was a Swing application, so it wasn't possible to integrate JavaFX inside on the first versions of JavaFX. So I had to release to create a custom component that allowed to do that I later published on JFXRS, which is an open source collection of controls for JavaFX. And so I'll share Modellus here. I think it's how do you share this? Okay, can you see it?
Yep.
Okay, so this is basically, I started to do this on my spare time. So this basically is Swing and JavaFX put together. Everything here is Swing, but the background here, it's the animation window. This is all JavaFX. This is Swing. All the rest is Swing. So you have like characters and stuff.
Nice. You basically got an editor of some sort.
Yeah, it's kind of like an editor. Here you have the chart. It's a Swing component. You can see the table of values, and here you can write the formula. So this is like an IDE but the programming language here is mathematics, and you just use mathematics to describe your models.
Right.
So if you put like something like x equals 10 times t, which is time, and you you grab this and you say that the x variable, the x position is the x from the formula, and you start, you'll see the object moving according to the values on the formula.
That's pretty good. I might start something similar for FXJL, because eventually I think I'll need an editor. I think I might use some of the concepts from here.
Yeah, sure, that would be great. I think what I built here sometime. This application has about 10 years. I haven't touched it since then. And I think there's a lot of great concepts here. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue because this was you can download it for free, and it's everything here is free. So there's no business model, and eventually that was the problem with this application.
Right.
And you can there's a lot of stuff you can do here. Like for instance, if you have yeah, you could put x times t, and you could create. There's a bunch of characters here that you can choose from. You can choose a cat character as well. You could put like something like this, and like this here. You would see it kind of walking one side to the next, and
that's pretty good. You could essentially build parametric equations and then use them as the drivers for your animations.
Yeah, yeah, and this is interpreted right automatically in the formulas, and they can also be interactive. Like you could, for instance, if you want to model, if you want to model a car position, like with acceleration and all that. So you put the derivative of x equals the velocity on the x position, then derivative of y. Then you could put this. Acceleration is the derivative of the velocity. Then you could create here a car, set the orientation to the velocity, and there's a bunch of objects that you can have here, like kind of like a slider, which could be the velocity, the acceleration. You set here the variable. You could put acceleration has the variable that you control here, and another slider for the y. So acceleration in the y-axis, and you could also add here some vectors, like the velocity vector, and you can attach it to the car, and acceleration vector. And now, yeah, let's just change the color to blue and attach it to the vector. So this is the acceleration.
It's a pretty sophisticated editor.
Yeah, I think it can You can also add like lines. This is a geometric object. Geometric objects are like lines and circles. You can add an analog, which is like to show you the values of stuff in a circular analog. You can a pen is like kind of like a chart. You can assign the x and y, and it does like a chart here. Text, you can edit the text and and attach it to stuff and whatever. Variable is just the value of a variable. You can add an image. This is like a new origin, or you can attach stuff here.
Okay, so you can change anchors of objects. Nice. And the UI looks really good. Like it's very sort of usable, like practical UI.
Yeah, and it's this is about 10 years old or 12 years old.
Wow.
And it's still a bit. My throat is a bit. Okay, and also measure stuff. And so these are all the objects you can create on the animation. And so,
how do you save this? As in, what's the model like? What does it store it as?
It's an XML file.
Okay. And then it reloads it back similar to how FXML does it, I guess?
Yeah.
You just go through all the elements and then you put them back in the scene graph.
It's similar to FXML. It's also saved on an XML file. And so
yeah, I'm just thinking if I were to do something similar for FXGL, we also would need some kind of serialization form for the whole thing.
Yeah. So like I was saying, so what I was building here with this model is that once you put a variable has a derivative of another, you are saying how a variable evolves through time. So that means it's not a fixed value. So you can so if you start playing the animation here, you can change the acceleration. Oops, still I don't think the position is set for the car. Okay. So when you start and you accelerate, you see the car accelerating.
Nice.
And you can brake. You can also change the Y direction. Yeah. So once you set up stuff like with derivatives, it means you can change it while the animation is running. You can also like you can also do stuff like x equals last x. This is more like we're used to in programming, plus 10. This is also another way of saying that x is how x evolves, and you can change x interactively. So yeah, this. So you have also the chart here, the table. You can see the values through the table. So in this this application is available for free on the you can I have here the let me share.
Yep, if you can send me the link, then I'll post it in the video description so that people can have a look.
Yeah, I'll share the yeah, my throat is a bit I'll share the site. So this is I used to have a site, a Modellus site, but then I stopped having time to continue to support it.
Yeah.
And also it was a bit it cost a bit to maintain the site.
Yeah. Sure.
So I ended up having only a Facebook page. So if you want to see more stuff about Modellus, you can go here to the Facebook page. There's a bunch of papers published using Modellus, and
Nice.
from all around the world. This is targeted more for universities and high schools. It's used on various universities and high schools around the world.
Yeah, I wonder if we can use that for something.
Yeah, its main uses are on teaching physics,
Right.
but there's also people teaching chemistry, doing models in chemistry and medicine and mechanics, whatever.
Yeah, well, the good news is it's maths, and that's pretty much every science there.
Anything that's based on math.
Yeah.
And if you go, so these links here on the Facebook page, if you go to them, you can open them and you can download the software here. It has Linux versions, Mac OS versions, Windows versions.
Cool.
It's easy it was easier to port to any operating system. So yeah, I think this was a very nice idea. I developed this with so after I finished my course, I went to work on with another university, and that's where I developed Modellus. I also my brother was also involved at the time. He was the main engineer. And there was also a professor, Vitor Theodore, which was the coordinator of the project, and it was, yeah. So so this is an example of a Swing application which also uses JavaFX.
Nice. So it's a Swing panel or something that's built into JavaFX scene graph.
It's let me. It's so the application is Swing, and this animation pane is JavaFX.
Right. So it's a JavaFX node, I'm guessing, that is inside Swing's hierarchy.
So at the time, initially I created this component called JX scene to integrate JavaFX inside Swing. But then later, Oracle officially released JFX. I think it's called JFX panel.
JFX panel, I think.
Yeah, and you can now do it officially. And so my component became obsolete.
Right.
And
are there any differences in approaches or performance or anything?
Yeah, I didn't test. There was another thing at that time when I developed that it was meant for JavaFX 1 also.
Right.
And JavaFX 1 used the JavaFX script language.
Oh yeah, it did.
So I had to program.
I forgot about JavaScript, JavaFX script.
Yeah. So I had
it was a long time ago.
I had to program in JavaFX script language for when I wanted to do stuff with JavaFX, and in Java when I wanted to do stuff on the Swing side. And it was also possible to communicate with the JavaFX script language from the Java. So that there was that extra level of complexity there. And then eventually later, Oracle decided that this was all, JavaFX was going to be Java, and they JavaFX script language. And I didn't have the time to test if my solution was, it was probably less performant than the official one.
Well, I suppose it was built for a different version as well.
Yeah,
So,
exactly. Yeah. It was built for a different version, and it was built for a version that had JavaFX script language. So it was using a slightly different approach.
But it's still interesting. I mean, just to see how Swing interop with JavaFX can happen, even at different sort of layers and different levels.
Yeah, yeah. And it can add a bit of extra complexity because you have two separate threads. You have the Swing thread.
Oh yeah, there's the AWT, what was it called? Event dispatcher thread or something.
Yeah, I think I don't remember the exact name also. And you have the JavaFX UI thread.
Yeah.
So
the only thing I can remember about the AWT thread is that I kept crashing it for whatever reason. I tried to do something off of it and it just kept crashing. With JavaFX UI thread, at least it has a more explicit concurrency model, I think.
And yeah, I liked one thing better than on the Swing API than on JavaFX. The Swing API was more open, had more levels of more hooks to extend it.
Yeah, that's true.
That's something I think it's a bit missing on the JavaFX side.
Yeah, it would be great to have some extensions in JavaFX where we could just provide listeners and stuff without the need to actually change the underlying code base.
Yeah, exactly. Like I imagine in FXGL you might have had some problems with it.
To some extent, yeah, I had to sort of work around it in some cases.
Yeah, yeah. Like one thing I that could allow, and I would love to have that would be like if we could extend the CSS parser.
Oh, right.
And
yeah. There's been some talk on Twitter on CSS parsing mechanisms.
add animations or to the CSS parser without having to touch the core code of JavaFX.
Yeah, that would be great. Not only for CSS, but also for other things like FXML, I suppose. Because FXML parser also does some things.
Yeah, like extend the FXML parser and add some more stuff, or there's some limitations on FXML which could also possibly be solved through this. And it's also much easier to I'm sorry, my throat is a bit bad because I had a cold and
yeah, I also got sore throat from time to time.
From what? I didn't. Sorry, what did you say?
I also keep getting sore throat from time to time because I used to talk for hours and hours during lectures, and then because we now record all of our videos, so our lectures are mostly online, and we have to go through a lot of them because we don't now do sort of face-to-face teaching. Everything's online.
Yeah. Yeah. So I keep drinking stuff, see if my throat gets clearer. This was my first project with JavaFX. Then so if you want to check it out, you can go to that site and download it.
Yeah, definitely. I'm going to copy the link into the video description.
Yeah, it's free, and anyone can download it and use it.
Okay, anything else you'd like to share?
Yeah. So I've also got some open source projects that I didn't yet show on any event or talk or like.
Nice.
I have this. I have one called FXRibbon, which is like a Microsoft Ribbon for Java, for JavaFX. Here I'll share my screen. Okay, so this is a sample running FXRibbon. I'll run this. I'm not sure if I can you see you see the sample running?
I can see the IDE screen.
Yeah, I'll need to check.
But not the application.
Yeah, I'll need to share the sample. Let me see where is it. Where is it? I'm still sharing. I can see the. That's strange. I'll try to run again. Am I sharing anything? No. Right.
No, I can't see anything just yet.
Yeah. I'll run it again and try to share it now. It wasn't showing. Yeah, this is strange. It's not showing. Yeah, I can share the whole window, right?
Yeah, you can share the entire screen or a specific window, but with Java, I suppose it doesn't always work. Wow, that looks really nice. Like that looks almost like something that came out of Microsoft.
So this is what like Microsoft Ribbon.
I also noticed the other application, the Modellus, also had a very similar sort of Microsoft style look.
Yeah. It had also a ribbon, but that one was made in Swing. This is made in, so this is a JavaFX control. So you can add buttons and controls to the ribbon, and each of these is a ribbon tab, and each tab has a ribbon group, which is this. There's this file ribbon.
And then you add your own nodes in those things.
Yeah, exactly. And there's also the quick access bar, which is this stuff to the on the top left.
That looks great. Is this open source?
Yeah, it's open source. You can let me show you. Yeah, you can go to my site and.
Yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
Let's see this loading. So this is the this is the documentation page for the FXRibbon.
Right.
If you go here to the right and you click FXRibbon on the projects, you'll go to the documentation of the FXRibbon. So this is all the so this is the documentation, and you'll see how to use the FXRibbon. And also I have here an example of an application I've created for a client, which used the FXRibbon. This was called Metascrap, this application, which was a JavaFX application.
Right.
And it's a ribbon, you can see it here on the top, the FXRibbon. And yeah, it's open source, it's free. Here's a GitHub page.
Cool. I might do a tutorial on this. That looks really good.
That would be great. Thanks. Also, I think you had the talk with Frank, right?
Yeah.
On his book, he also mentions this. He also mentions this control. Yeah, it can be a nice. I think for some applications, it can be a nice way to, especially if you have a lot of if you have a lot of actions and like imagine think about Word or Excel. It's a nice way to organize those actions because so that the UI doesn't get so doesn't appear so complex.
Plus, it gives you the sort of almost native-like look and feel, particularly if you're on Windows. I suppose if you're on Linux or Mac, this doesn't look native.
Yeah, because there are a lot of. That's a good point. There's a bunch of applications on Windows that use the ribbon, like even the File Explorer uses the ribbon.
Yeah.
Will,
that's one of the things that comes to mind.
Exactly. So this was another control, another component that I have, and you can use it. It's the license is BSD, I think. So it's okay to use on commercial applications or whatever. Right. I just ask that people send me some screenshots of their applications if they're okay with that, so that I can see how they're using it and if they allow.
Yeah, and to get feedback as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And if they allow, I sometimes share it on Twitter so that other people see what developers are coming up, applications that are coming up made in JavaFX.
Yeah, that's a really nice project.
Thank you. So yeah, maybe I can show you also JMetro. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we could definitely get another link in the description, and people would want to know about JMetro.
Okay, so I'll go and I'm going to open it here. There's one thing I didn't show on JavaFX days that I think is a nice way to test JMetro. So I created a sample application that I call Team Tester, which is based on work that Jasper Potts did back when he was working on Modena, developing Modena, when he was working on JavaFX. So if you run Team Tester on the samples sub-project in JMetro, let's see this running, you can see all the controls styled with JMetro.
Right.
And you can check out.
So you can see everything in one go.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's it. You can change the style to either dark or light or dark. So, but both styles here. You can also it's also a nice way you can change to Modena and see the differences.
Yep.
So you can also see like JMetro also changes the schemes of some controls and adds some stuff to those controls. Like the slider, the Modena slider only has this thumb, but if you on JMetro, you'll have the slider has a fill, and if you drag the thumb, you can see a pop-up showing with the exact value.
Oh, it tells you what the actual value is.
Yeah, the exact value, and you can. This is also you can program it in CSS. You can tell it to show the value or not. It also adds some CSS parameters that you can toggle in your.
Yeah, CSS is nice. I've never really had time to play with it. I kind of just quickly put something together with code and then focus on the functionality. And there's also skin stuff that I never really understood on JavaFX, which I think provides various ways to add functionality or something.
Yeah, it's it's a separation. It's like an MVC, but only for the control itself. So you can switch the skin, and you'll be changing the view and the controller side of the control. So you can theoretically, with the same, you have the provide so like JMetro, it adds functionality to some controls on the that exists on JavaFX, but it doesn't. You can still use the API that's from those controls in JavaFX. So if you you can still you'll still be using the regular JavaFX slider, and you won't in code. You don't have to change anything, or you just have to enable JMetro, and JMetro automatically will change the skin of the slider and add this functionality. So that's the one of the advantages of this skin API that JavaFX provides. So all you need to do is run one line of code in JMetro, and you'll be adding a bunch of stuff to already existing controls, besides also the looks. And if you want to, for instance, let's say on the Mac, you want to have a different look, you just need to remove that one line of code that enables JMetro, and change the UI again, or have it be like Modena. So the coupling between JMetro and your application is very, very low, which I think can be an advantage. Also, if you already have an application and you want to start to tweak the UI, and you want to start using JMetro, all you need to do is run JMetro, this one line of code, pass in the scene, and you have JMetro enabled. That's also another advantage. A lot of people. The problem with the JavaFX skins is that it's a bit complex, and it's difficult to. You have to dive into the code to actually extend the skin or create new skins. The separation between
I think they've been moved to public API recently, haven't they?
Yeah. After Java 9, but still, I don't think there's enough. There was a plan. I followed JavaFX since the start, and the guys that created JavaFX, the plan was to separate things even further and have behavior classes, and made public, and the skin classes. So there would be a higher degree of separation between the visuals and the behavior of the controls.
Yeah, I can understand the concept behind it, because it's kind of like what CSS does at the moment. If you apply CSS, you're only changing the visuals. The model is still the same. But possibly this has got out of hand, maybe, with skin stuff. I don't know.
Out of hand in what way? What
As in, things got over-engineered or too complex for it to be used in a simple way.
Yeah, maybe if there was a greater separation between the view aspects of the controls and the control aspects, maybe it would be easier to toggle the view side of your JavaFX control. Because the problem I see now, if you look at any other team, JavaFX team that exists, or anyone else that decides to tweak the visuals of a control, they usually decide to create a new entire control, and that's usually the preferred way, because people don't want to read the code, to be reading the code of the skin classes, and you'll have a harder time to extend the visuals and of
Yeah, and I
JavaFX.
suppose to kind of override everything correctly. Whereas with a new control, you just kind of extend something, a parent, a group, or a region, and then you kind of go with it.
Yeah, it's much easier to do it that way. But the problem is you introduce a higher degree of coupling.
Indeed.
Now you have control, and if you use a team that decides to go this way, which usually is the way that all teams are usually created for JavaFX, you'll have to use their controls, and so you'll have a higher coupling with that team.
Definitely.
If you later decide, well, I want to use another. I want to use another. I want to tweak the look a bit, and I want to use another team. Then you have to rewrite the whole application that you've created because you were using controls from that.
Because everything is sort of there at the syntactic level. Whereas if you had the ability to change like something like CSS, you would just drop one and then add the other one in.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I aimed for in JMetro. You can do that in JMetro. But then again, I can see why developers do this, and it's the easier way. I think it would be nice if JavaFX SDK could separate the visuals from a bit better, and it was easier to. It would be, and if it was easier to extend the visuals and change the visuals of an existing control without changing the, still using the same control, but just changing to another skin or something like that.
Well, that definitely could be the way forward, I guess, for JavaFX. I mean, it's being heavily developed even these days. So hopefully we'll get more separation in controls, both model and the view, and then we'll see how that goes. Well, it was great chatting with you today on your projects. Definitely send me those links, and I'll put them all in the video description.
Sure. I'm sorry
for
my throat started to.
It's all right. No worries.
I hope people understood what I said, but.
Well, they can definitely check out your projects. These are definitely awesome projects. I might actually do 1 or 2 tutorials on them.
Oh, that would be great. If you want.
And then we can potentially collaborate on future projects and then see how that goes.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Okay, on that note, I'm going to say goodbye to the audience. Bye. I'll see you guys some later time. And bye to Pedro. Let me just stop the recording now, and then we can complete the call.
Or